Welcome, everybody, to the show. Welcome, PI Nation. We are here in the Politically Incorrect podcast in this lovely Sunday afternoon. My name is Ibaldo Barros. I am one of your hosts. I'm joined by Matthew Camara. Matthew, what's going on?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 5.
And Deshaun is away. He is vacationing in Greece.
Yeah, he's using his reparation money well right now in Greece.
His underfunded reparation money.
Russ, you got to send more.
Deshaun, if you catch Giannis Antetokounmpo there, get a picture or a selfie or have him call in the show. All right? So we're here today. We got a couple of things we want to talk about. We're going to launch the show off with something that I came upon a couple of days ago listening to another podcast. And it involves the National Basketball Association, the NBA, and it involves the small forward star of the Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green. And he made a statement that he wanted the NBA to change the title owner to something else. I forget what they wanted them to change it to. Something like majority owner or something like that.
Franchisee or manager. Yeah. Didn't even represent what an owner was. But
so, and the reason why he wanted that is because he felt that the name owner or the title owner is sort of like racially sensitive, and that's the PC avenue he is taking. I had Matthew look at a video earlier about this. What do you think, Matt? Right off the top of your head.
To me, it's one of those race baiting things again. It's people being overly sensitive, really looking deep into the word that it really shouldn't be. When I think of the word owner, I just simply think of the person that owns or financed or invested into a company or a business or project or whatever it is that's going on. And I don't understand this mentality of bringing it into slavery or trying to make the connection, because you got black owners, you got white owners, you got Chinese owners. So I just don't understand the connection there. You got Jewish owners. So again, my personal opinion, it's just people being overly sensitive, race baiting, just trying to create drama where there shouldn't be.
Yeah, Michael Jordan, he owns the Charlotte Hornets, and he's black, as we all know. Here's something the New York Post, I just found this, said about this. It says, the NBA may be backing down from using the word owner due to racial insensitivity. After Golden State Warriors star Draymond Green argued against using the term on LeBron James' HBO show, The Shop, I'll be touching base on what LeBron said and how that all relates. The Shop late last year, the issue gained steam per TMZ Sports, and at least 2 teams have already stopped using it. I want to say Dallas Mavericks with Mark Cuban. He's the owner of that. So Mark Cuban's considered something else. Yeah. We all know how he is.
Yep. I think it's one of those things that the social media has taken wind of, and they're just driving an agenda. And I think what this does is it creates more division. It actually, in my opinion, it creates more racism than what it seeks out to actually fix. There was actually a quote by Morgan Freeman, who said that one of the good ways to stop racism is to stop talking about it, is to stop enabling it.
Yeah, I think I saw something like that. So he goes on to say, you shouldn't say owner. This is Draymond Green. Green said, saying it should be changed to CEO, chairman, or majority shareholder. So that's what he's saying it should be changed to. And then the Sixers, the Philadelphia 76ers, have since changed the title of their owners to managing partners. And Steve Ballmer of the Clippers is listed as chairman on the team's website. And when your product is purely the labor of people, the owner sounds like something that is a feudal nature, Jon Stewart said on The Shop.
Well, the thing is you're signing these multi-million-dollar contracts. And essentially, you are selling yourself to that team because you got to be conscious of the branding, the things that you say, how you conduct yourself off the field. It's almost like working for any other job. You have to be conscious of what it is because you represent. So, in a way, the owners do own you, and you're getting a hefty paycheck because of it. And that's kind of one of the things that you kind of just have to accept when you sign up for the military. The government owns you at that point. They tell you what to say and how to dress and how to do everything. And when you have big contracts like that, that's kind of the territory that it goes along.
So I just think it's like the politically incorrect movement, and that's what this is.
Yeah.
They did say LeBron James talked about something like this because Draymond Green was mentioning this on the LeBron James HBO show, The Shop. And we know that LeBron James is not just an athlete because the show is called More Than an Athlete. He's also a political activist, and we've seen him do that. Example, when Hillary Clinton was running, he was campaigning. He went on a campaign with her, and he made an appearance. So we know that, and he also took shots at the president. So we know that he's left-leaning, and he's an activist. So he said something, too, that I think is linked to this on the show. He had said one time on that show that he wishes that the NBA owners, that the NFL owners were as progressive as the NBA owners. That's what he said. And this is what this is trying to do. This is trying to make everything very progressive and sort of left-leaning. And that was the whole reason why Colin Kaepernick was actually kneeling. It had nothing to do with police shooting. He doesn't even know anything about the black community. He was raised in a rich white family. I think he was adopted or something like that. And he knows he doesn't know what he's talking about because he won't do any interviews and answer real questions. He's sponsored and branded by Nike. He wouldn't even take the police department's offering when they asked him to go on a ride with them or go to the academy or something like that to go see how they do things. He wouldn't engage with them. Yep. So what this is saying between what Kaepernick has done and what LeBron just said, comparing the NFL to the NBA, is that the only reason why Kaepernick was kneeling was because he was trying to make the NFL progressive. That's all it was, because we know the NFL is mostly conservative-based, white-based, military, pro-family kind of, nature. Right. But the NBA is very progressive. If you watch the NBA, you see the players, they wear the equality T-shirts. When the whole Draymond Martin thing happened, they had the T-shirt that says, hands up, don't shoot. They had when the kid that died because he got suffocated, he wasn't breathing or something, not breathing, something like that. They had a T-shirt for that. So they're very progressive. So they don't need any help with that. But the NFL, they wanted to make more progressive, and I don't think they've been too successful.
What they're trying to do is they're trying to politicize the sports. And the NFL, for all its wrongs, I think has done a pretty decent job of trying to avoid a lot of that. Because they do have pretty strict guidelines when it comes to what you wear and how you represent the NFL brand. They're more a business that actually cares about the branding and logo, whereas it seems like the NBA is kind of you just free for all, like just do whatever you want, say whatever you want. Although I'd be hard pressed to believe that if a bunch of conservative basketball players went out and expressed their opinions, that they would be treated the same.
I agree. Actually, if you were a conservative basketball player, I don't even think you would admit it.
Yeah, probably.
I can't even think of one.
It would probably be the same thing as Hollywood, They're probably a part of that whole silent majority.
Yeah, there's got to be some out there, some that are sort of religious and conservative, but they're not really prominent.
And we've actually seen, again, we'll get back to the NFL, actually, because I just was reminded. There was a player, actually, from the Steelers, a lineman who was an ex-Army Ranger. I don't think I could say ex, because once you're something like that, you're that for life. But he was very concerned about people kneeling during the national anthem, and the team was going to make the entire team kneel, and he decided he was going to stay in the locker room. And basically, his teammates and his coach retaliated against him. And here you have this veteran, this war hero, who served a couple tours, and he's forced to make an apology for standing up for what he believes in. So it's unfortunate, but you see these types of politicizing in almost every aspect. And I think you ended up seeing it towards the tail end in baseball as well. The only sport, maybe hockey, maybe the only one that I haven't seen anything like that, but I could be wrong.
And that former Army Ranger's name is Alejandro Villanueva. Villanova, and he is an offensive tackle for Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah.
One of the so Valdo had mentioned that I got to watch that video. I'm not very savvy when it comes to sports and things like that, so I had to watch the video. But the gentleman that they were asking about it, I was actually taken aback because his name is Steven Jackson, a former NBA player, and I could actually agree with his views. He was kind of saying what I had said earlier, that this is just people looking too deep into a word and trying to find drama and racism where there's no need for it. So I was actually surprised. I'm gonna have to look up his content, see if he has a Twitter and all that.
It's just the same old playbook. They're jumping on the bandwagon of racism again to do whatever they want to do politically and change our culture. That's all it is. And they've been doing this a long time. Like allegedly, like if you go back during the civil rights movement, allegedly, this is how they hijack. Allegedly, it's proposed that the whole like Rosa Parks, for instance, was staged. And if you, and it might be because if you look at like how Nike is branding Kaepernick now, they kind of link them to like Rosa Parks and Muhammad Ali. So they kind of hijack these movements that may be legitimate or may not be. I don't know. That's for you to decide. But they take these movements and they try to like hijack them and then link them to promote whatever it is they're trying to promote or push.
Yeah, I mean, at least with Rosa Parks, there's some, this positive aspect there. It was used for good. But with Colin Kaepernick, I don't see what exactly he's doing. It just seems like he took advantage of it, and he was rewarded for basically doing nothing for the black community, or like Valdo had mentioned earlier, he did nothing to volunteer his time to police to go with the police and talk to them and see what could be done to make things right, and just awareness. It just seems like he was just doing it for the fame, and look, he got a nice deal. He's out of the NFL, but you know what? He's getting paid by Nike.
Yeah, he settled in a court with the NFL, so he got tons of money, and he's being sponsored by Nike. So it's interesting because most people, when they fight for something, they lose something, a job, family, or something. But in his case, he's fighting for something he's believing, but he's gaining money, fame, branding. It doesn't make sense to me. So that should give you a tip-off right there that something's off.
And somebody might say, well, he lost his NFL career, but he's still making money without having to do any work now. So
a lot more money.
That seems like kind of a win in my book. I would love to make a couple $1 million doing nothing. And on top of that, he's not doing any activism. I haven't heard anything.
It comes out once in a while. And his NFL career was on the downslide. He was towards the end of it.
He was terrible anyways. I mean, I think he got replaced by Blaine Gabbert, which is who is a pretty terrible quarterback. So, so you know what? He made out well.
So, yep, Draymond Green wants to change the owner title to something else. So, Matt, what do you got for us today?
So I just wanted to talk about some of the winning that's been going on with the Trump administration this week. If you've been in a cave or just haven't been paying too much attention, or you were watching the left-wing media, they were telling you how terrible these tariffs were going to be that were going to happen on Monday, how the president doesn't know what he's doing, how what he's doing is not going to curtail the immigration crisis that we have, and it is a crisis. I don't care what the Democrats say. In fact, many of them are saying that it is a crisis now. 6 months earlier, they were telling you that it was fabricated, just like when they were telling you that the whole spying thing was fabricated. But I digress. But I wanted to talk about that victory because we just got a great announcement that there will not be tariffs on Monday. There was going to be a 5% tariff on all products coming in from Mexico, which is a good thing for the U.S. Treasury. But Mexico and the president and his administration got together. See, here's the thing with Trump is he gets things done. Yep. He doesn't care about whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. He cares about getting things done for the American people. So he essentially, it seems like he's doing everything on his own. Congress is non-existent in solving any problems, which is a two-edged sword, and I'll get into that. But the victory was that they signed an agreement. Mexico agreed that they're going to do everything in their power to stop those caravans from coming in. Mexico is actually going to enforce its immigration laws because if you don't know, Mexico has an extremely harsh immigration law in which it doesn't really let people in. It lets people pass through to get to the United States, but according to that agreement, they're going to be supplying more troops and they're going to be curtailing that. On top of that victory, Mexico has also agreed to purchase large quantities of American farming products, so goods, the vegetables and things like that farmers
Wow.
are producing. So it's a two-win, and you know what? Where's Congress?
Yeah.
Nowhere to be seen. They're too busy, especially the Democrats, the do-nothing Democrats. They're not doing anything for the American people. And you know what? To me, that's fine because when it comes election times, I'm predicting right now on this podcast that you're going to see a lot of Democrats lose their seats. And I think 2020, it's going to be a landslide. When you got CNN, who is the most anti-Trump news network, having to admit that the victory with Mexico was a good thing, and also that they're predicting that Trump is going to win re-election. So I know I said a mouthful of all the. What do you think about all that stuff?
I think it's good. I'm just trying to read up a little bit on it now. You mentioned some of the things that they were trying to do, and I think it's great. I didn't follow this story too much. I just heard just a little glimpse of it on the news. Kind of at the point where I'm just
Right.
like, there's nothing that he can do that they're going to praise. So what's the point of listening to whatever they're saying about it?
Right. And the Democrats are just shooting themselves in the foot because anything that Trump is doing, it's typically for the benefit of the American people. So it's like every time he's doing something, they're always going to oppose him no matter how good it is for the American people. And I think a lot of people are starting to recognize that they're just wasting time with these pointless investigations. And they're not actually doing anything. They're not talking about infrastructure. I don't know, the past 2 weeks, I've seen maybe 6 to 10 different tweets, the president begging Congress to start putting these investigations aside and start talking about infrastructure, about talking about lowering drug prices and what we can do to work together to make America great again. And they just absolutely refuse to do anything for the American people. All you hear them talk about is impeachment for crimes that the president did not commit. Tax returns, which most of them don't even give their own tax returns.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, and on top of that, we just had one of the congresswomen who, one of the Muslim congresswomen, she just got, I believe, 5 years. They said that she's been defrauding the IRS. So, it looks like they got a lot of skeletons in their closets right now.
And the president just gets things done, man of action.
Yeah.
And this is all part of his the art of a deal tactic. This is what he's using.
Yeah, I mean, they were saying he's so dumb for sort of threats. Well, we're in a position where we can dictate these deals. We're the strongest nation in the world. So why are we bowing down to these other nations in which we don't have to? Yeah, I believe let's make a fair deal, but don't make it so that another nation is doing better than us through trade agreements. We shouldn't be making trade deals where Americans lose their jobs. Because
Right.
the vast majority of people buying those products are Americans. So once you get the American people out of the workforce, then you're actually hurting yourself. You're taking away those people that are buying the products. So
It doesn't make sense.
it just doesn't.
It doesn't make sense at all. No. What was a CNN poll that said that he's going to be?
Yeah, they were saying that 54% believe that Trump is going to win re-election, no problem. 54%, and that's a
amazing.
CNN poll. So, the Clinton News Network that hates Trump. It's been a bad couple months for them because they've just had to reluctantly admit these things. First, it was the fact that people don't want him impeached, and the second, that this is the highest. Actually, there's a couple things. They had to admit, one, people don't want him impeached. They had to admit, two, that this is possibly one of the greatest economies that we've ever had under Trump. And they also had to admit that he was going to win a re-election based on their polls. So it's been a very tough week for them. I can imagine that they've spent a lot of time in those safe houses, I guess you'd say, or safe spaces crying. So
So this is pretty cool that Mexico, that this whole joint U.S.-Mexico declaration by the State Department says that they'll return asylum seekers across the southern border to Mexico while their claims are adjudicated, and then Mexico will offer jobs, healthcare, and education to those people. The agreement stated. So that's pretty cool because you never see them doing anything. It's always us.
Exactly. And right now, our borders, it can't handle any more refugees coming in the southern border, at least. I was reading articles where there's 100 people to a room that should only have 25 people max. And the sad thing about this is the Democrats will take something like that and they're going to say, look, see what the president is doing. But all the while, the Democrats are the ones who keep voting down the additional funding for border security, which also includes healthcare, housing, additional beds for those people, diapers, medicine, bottles. And the Democrats keep voting it down. And it's something like $4.3 billion. It's not even a lot of money. And the Democrats keep voting it down, and you don't hear about that. That's something that I had to dig in and kind of read about. But you don't hear about it. But they'll turn around and say, "Oh, look at what the president's doing. Look at the manufactured crisis that the president is doing," and it's just a flat out lie.
Because they want to control the narrative. They don't want to show the people what he's really doing. And this is the whole point of what Trump had always been saying, even with like NATO. He's like, why does the U.S. always pick up the slack for everything? We can easily help a lot of people throughout the world, but other countries have to pick up the slack. Yep. It's not just the U.S.
Don't let the media fool you. There are a lot of rich nations out there that were hanging on the curtails of the United States. A lot of those European nations do not need our help, okay? They have plenty of money. A lot of those Middle Eastern countries have tons of money. They don't need our help like the UN wants you to think. A lot of those countries are self-sufficient, and they can pay for their own protection. They can pay for the alliance. The United States is not responsible for that.
Right. And the other thing, too, that Mexico is doing, according to this Fox News article here, is they're taking unprecedented steps to increase enforcement to curb irregular migration, including the deployment of the Mexican National Guard throughout the country. So our military, again, can't always pick up all the slack. Other countries' military have to get involved. So this is good.
Yeah, I think it's a win on both sides because once people start to realize that, they're not going to have easy passage to Mexico,
right?
They're going to be more inclined to stay or at least go through the proper channels to try to get into the United States legally so that they can build a better life. We don't want you to ever think that on this show that we don't agree with immigration. We agree with it. Just do it the right way. Because there are plenty of other people that are coming in here the right way, and they're waiting years, and they're paying money, and it's just not fair to them.
Right. I'm an immigrant. My family, most of us are. So, and it also says that Mexico has taken decisive action to dismantle human smuggling and trafficking organizations as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things that Trump has been talking about these past couple of weeks is this is going to also combat sex trafficking, the sex slave industry, which, believe it or not, is pretty rampant on the southern border. It's also going to combat smugglers using children as a way to get drugs into this country. There's a lot of things that people don't think about. Those MS-13 gang members that Trump is weeding out. The numbers are staggering of the amount of those people, and those are not good people. Those MS-13 people are not good people. Just check out New York City, where and some of those bigger cities where they have a heavy presence, and see the kind of violence that they're doing. You would think about things that the Mexican mafias and drug cartels are doing. Those are the kind of violent people that are coming over through MS-13, and they're committing those same acts that they would do in Mexico, beheading people and things like that. So it goes beyond just solving the crisis. There are a lot of other things that are going on that this would solve, and you would think that the Democrats would be on board with creating a fair immigration system, creating one that actually helps people,
Right.
And one that actually tries to get people with a better skill set into our nation.
And we're suspecting that the real reason the Democrats want all these people here is because they need a new voting bloc.
Well, that's apparent because you got a lot of them that all of a sudden they think that 16 years of age is a voting age. Nancy Pelosi was saying that the other day, that she believes that 16-year-olds should vote. And that's living in Massachusetts. That's Elizabeth Warren. That Pocahontas has been calling for that as well. They're doing everything they can. I guess they can't get enough dead votes. So now they need the legal immigrants, and now they need 16-year-old voters. Which, when I was a 16-year-old, I can tell you right now, I was in no position to be voting. We'd probably have Joseph Stalin in power, or a Joseph Stalin alike in power.
Because you don't know any better at that age.
Exactly,
right?
you don't.
And you see all these young kids being activists and protesting in schools. And
you just want everything for free.
They don't really. I didn't know anything at that age, and I had no idea what was going on with politics at that age, and I shouldn't be making decisions on that. There's also a study out there that shows that the older you become, the more conservative you become. Actually,
well, yeah, because you begin to realize that the way economics really works is just it would be nice to give everybody everything. But when you eliminate the incentive and drive, it's just that becomes the fall of a nation. Once you run out of other people's money, that becomes the decline of a nation. I said it in the other episode, you'll get a short burst like what happened in Venezuela. Education went up, healthcare went up, but as soon as they ran out of money, look where they are now. You got people dying in the streets because they can't even afford bread anymore, and that's what happens. And unfortunately, because that's what's taught in schools, that's why they want the 16-year-olds. Because when I was that age, that's what I wanted. I was a communist. I wanted, the government to control everything, the government to tell me what to do and what not to do, and take care of me and provide free housing, free food, free college education. Yep. And that's how I thought. But once I began to realize how money actually works, how life actually works, I began to change my tune real quickly. Yeah, help people, but if you want to be successful, you got to work hard yourself.
You do. You do have to work hard. And most of these former nations that were in power, just before their demise, they had a border crisis.
Right.
Look at what we're letting in. It says here, more than 100,000 migrants are currently crossing the U.S. border each month.
Yeah, that's more than the city of Fall River. That's more than the city of New Bedford if you live in Massachusetts and you're listening, a month. So you're taking an entire city and just in a day, in a week, in a month, an entire city is being propped up. So where are all those people going?
So before you go and get triggered by the media when you hear that Trump is racist because he's anti-immigrant, just read the facts and see exactly what this all means. Yeah. Because where are we going to fit all these people? 100,000 a month. That's crazy. That's crazy.
I understand the intention there is good. You want to help people, but there's other ways that you can help them. Let's give them some of the tools that they need to go back to their countries,
right,
and fix their country so that they don't have to leave. That's what made America great. When people first came here, the United States was not a very rich nation when it first began its life. It took a lot of work, a lot of dedication. We had to go through a civil war. We had to go through multiple wars and to get to the way that we were. So we had to go through civil rights movements and all these things.
Exactly.
But we wouldn't be the nation today if everybody just up and left.
Right. That is so true. This is a wonderful nation, and it's built on hard work and people just having the freedom to work as much as they want and earn as much as they want and make a life that they dream of. That's what this nation is
Right.
built upon. It's
And
not relying on the government.
yeah, and even honestly, communist nations today, they're not truly communist because they realized that they couldn't sustain what they were doing. China is not a communist nation like you think it is. It's more a dictatorship. It's not. It's even its economy is not fully communist anymore because they realized that they couldn't make the money that they needed under a communist system. It just wasn't possible. The same thing with Vietnam. The reason why North Korea is in the state that it's in is because it's very reluctant to adopt capitalist ideals into its economic system. It has to be propped up by countries like China and Russia. But the Chinese government, they realized that if they wanted to overtake the United States or at least compete with us, they needed to adopt capitalist policies.
And I think there's like a couple of like socialist countries in the Nordic parts of the world that actually are surviving under the socialist regime, but that's because there's a particular reason for that. And that's usually because they have some sort of abundance of resource or some other
Yep.
Government-based investment that they have.
Correct. So
That's the only reason why.
the reason why Venezuela was able to do what it did even in the beginning was because of oil prices were very high. And what ended up happening is because oil prices have dropped more than double, it virtually made Venezuela bankrupt overnight. So that communist system could not prop up the lack of the oil, the money that they were getting from oil. They had nothing else. So that's what ended up happening. But, I mean, it doesn't matter. You take a nation even like the Soviet Union, who was the number two superpower. They couldn't do it. Their economy just could not keep up with a capitalist system. Just couldn't.
And even if, because we're capitalists, even if we start to have problems financially as a nation, the reason is because you start letting socialistic ideas get into the economy. That's just, you start increasing taxes, increasing social programs, and the economy will decline. That's pretty much what happened before the Great Depression.
Yep.
That's all that was if you do a good study on it.
Yeah, if you want to look at socialist economies, you can go on Wikipedia and you can actually look at their debt to GDP ratio. Understand the United States has high debt, and a lot of that is due to wars and things like that. But I want you to look at some of the debts like the Netherlands and Belgium and some of the other countries there, that even the United Kingdom, that follow socialist policies, and just look at the enormous amounts of debt that they have, and they can't keep up with it. Countries like Portugal, Spain, Greece right now is in austerity measures where they can't even pay back their loans. People's retirement plans are being raided. There's a country, I believe, called Cyprus, where their economy has been so bad where they were limiting what people could actually take out of their bank accounts. That is what socialism breeds. Yeah, it's good intentions. It's, sometimes, but the economics of it just does not match up to the reality of it. And then you end up in a worse situation than what you were before.
I had a girl actually at work. She's I forget what Hispanic country she was from, but she's very closely related to what's going on in Venezuela, and she was telling me a lot about what was happening, hands-on experience, and it was pretty amazing. It's not everything that the media will tell you about.
Nope, not at all.
They don't want to let you know the full scale of it because they're trying to make it seem like that's not real socialism.
Right.
Yeah,
that's their defense is that, that's not socialism.
Right.
Then what is it? Because that is communism, and it's been proven time and time again. You can't name me a successful communist nation. Maybe for a short period of time, but you can't. You can't name one.
Right. And just ask yourself a simple question. If capitalism is so bad, how come we've done so great? Right? Everybody wants to come here.
Right.
And people that are here, even though they might say they hate it here and we're so evil, ask them to go back someplace. They never will. They'll never leave.
Yep. And it's actually nice to hear from people who have come from those situations. We had a couple in our church who came from Belarus, and it's amazing to hear the stories. You know, they came here legally too. It's amazing to hear the stories of what they came. If you don't know, Belarus is also a communist, pretty much a dictatorship. It's awesome to hear the stories of how they were taking 80% of his paycheck and they were just living in like a one bedroom apartment where the bathroom wasn't even in the same house. So you'd have this apartment building with 50 apartments, and it would be a bathroom outside, and there'd be like two. Wow. So imagine sharing that bathroom with everybody in an apartment complex. That's what socialism does. That's what communism does.
That's insane.
Yep.
Wow. Very good.
So we're going to be wrapping this up.
I got a cool story of the day, though, before we wrap up. So at work, I had a customer, and he was telling me he's a former Democrat, and he was telling me why he left the Democratic Party just recently, and he had voted for Trump as well. And he pretty much left the Democratic Party. He was really upset about it because they wanted to take away his guns, and they were screwing up the economy with some of their policies. And he was talking about he's a strong advocate for, like, if you have people with disabilities, instead of having all these programs that just dump money on it and, you know, pay for all these schoolings and things like that, they should do it a lot. And I forget what his ways were for doing it, but he didn't agree with the way they were doing it, and the Democratic Party trying to take away his gun. I guess he's a big gun guy, and it's amazing to see that, like, hands-on, somebody that's actually telling you, yeah, I was a real hardcore Democrat, and I just don't agree with the direction they're taking. And he's like, I'm not voting for anyone other than Trump, and I'm a big Trump guy now. And that's what he's pretty much saying. So that's what's going on. There's silent majorities.
Yep.
And we're getting those silent majorities from people that were ex-Democrats as well.
And a lot of those, believe it or not, are women. There was actually a report that came out that was saying that almost more than half of Trump's donations actually came from women.
Wow.
Yep.
I thought he was a misogynist.
Yep.
A pig.
So, the silent majority is real. We're out there, and you'd be surprised at who might be a Trump supporter.
So, hey, guys, listen, go on our YouTube channel and like, share, and subscribe. We'd like to get our subscription up to 100, okay? To 100 for starters. So go on our channel and hit the subscribe and hit the bell notification to get new videos as they pop up. And like and share this to everybody that you know. Your mama, your daddy, your wife, your husband, your brother, your sister, your kids, your cousins, everybody. Everybody, so we can spread what's going on here. And if you have any questions, email us or write in our Facebook page or something. Any questions or any concerns or anything that you want us to mention or maybe talk about, reach out to us and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, put a comment in the comment section below and we'll get back to you.
Matt, any farewells?
We'll see you next Monday with a new show. We're excited.
Monday. Deshaun will be back.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.